Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the DragonCast. I'm your host, Donut, and I'm here today with my co-host, J-Man,
Hello, everybody.
and my other co-host, Malachi.
Hello.
Alright, so we're going to get into a few topics today, ranging from a quick recap of the season changes, a few of the FAs for the teams and music, as well as some community questions we've gotten from various members of the community. But first, we want to talk about the Tournament of Power stream and some of the new additions we have found in there. So, Malachi, J-Man?
I think full disclosure, we're recording this before the Tournament of Power, so we can't say how well it went, but I am very hopeful for the stream. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that little pizzazz that we put on it. Spoiler alert here, if you haven't seen the Tournament of Power stream, go watch that, because we're about to spoil something really fun, so go do that.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry, I was just pulling up a document. Yeah, so if you didn't see, we obviously had a new map in, and this is huge because this means that we have finally started to put some new content into the game instead of changing what's already there.
Yeah.
Yep. It was a lot of fun working with Vive, our modding consultant. There should be a link to the Tenkaichi modding Discord, both in our Discord, which can be found in the link below, and we should also be having a shout out to Vive and a link in Tournament of Power stream video and in the videos related, in the episode breakdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was a lot of fun testing it, and I think the new maps opens up quite a bit of fun for us, not gonna lie.
Yes. Yeah, it allows us to actually do things more than just, hey, we're going to change a B2 or going to change, blast stock cost for things, right? And actually change the game, which was really cool. So, open up a lot of different doors.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be ready in time. Like, there's still some things we have to figure out because, for those who don't know, with the way the game is set up, when you do mods like this, you have to replace other maps. And so, like, we had to sacrifice Namek and Dying Namek for the new maps. But hopefully everyone feels like that was a worthy sacrifice to the cause. And going forward, there may be some changes to how certain things like map bidding and other such things work in order to better accommodate that.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know, I think it's super exciting just to see this on a high level, just because, we've always been teasing stuff coming into the game, and it's finally here. Obviously, it's not main season stuff yet, but we wanted to do a test run. I also think it's probably good to bring up, how do we feel about the Tournament of Power as it ran in general?
I think it went pretty well. Overall, I think the drafting at the beginning was a very welcome addition to how they selected teams. I think everyone really enjoyed that, and just as a small event to help people, new members, help build or learn how to build for different characters, different styles of characters. That worked out very well, I think.
Oh yeah. Just as a staff member who was not really involved at all, except in some of a little bit of the minutia here and there, like getting stuff up on the website. Like, I think it ran really well. It was good to see people have different options to experiment. Like, there were some Patara cost changes across the board with some of our lesser used Pataras to try and encourage them to be used. We may not have been quite as successful as we intended, but some of that may also just be to, some of the things of like, well, I'd like to use it, but I'm restricted to 6 Patara slots because of needing Master Roshi's training.
Yeah. And some were actually turned to 5, right? Because of Broly's ring.
Yeah. Because of Broly's ring. And so, like, that's not something we really thought about this time around, and so I think next season that's a good lesson learned to turn around and say, oh, hey, we don't necessarily, we have ways to change the base health for everybody without needing the Pataras. Let's do that instead.
Yeah, that's the avenue we take, yeah.
And on the whole, this was a very because this is the first time, it was very conservatively ran with those changes. But I think it worked really, really well.
Agreed.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun participating in it too. I know not everybody participated, obviously, but if you were interested in it at all, I would highly recommend participating because, as Donut said, the draft was really fun, and even watching it week to week, it was competitive but still a little relaxed. Like I never felt too upset over my losses, and it was overall just kind of a more fun, chill vibe while still, trying to win. And especially during the off season where it's mainly just testing, I think this was a super welcome addition, and I really hope that we can bring it back next off season as well, and I think we might.
Yes. So with that out of the way, do you want to get over to the recap of the changes for the off season that I'll make into this new season?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on into that.
Let's start with the Master Blast. Which one of us take the Master Blast?
Yeah, I'll take that. And we know that we have announced these before, guys. But just as a reminder, preseason starts on May 22nd. So not entirely sure when this will go up, but it should be right around the corner. And we know it's been a while since our last cast. So just to give a very quick recap, a lot of active supporters had asked us to look at revisiting the Master Blast rule because it was very vague, and we looked at it and we came up with a bit more of a comprehensive system than we had before. Previously, we had said if a full volley of Rush Blast did more than 3,000 damage, you couldn't use Master Blast at all. And there's a more of a comprehensive system now where you can either have an attack, if you do more than a certain amount of damage with so many Rush Blasts, you can't have like attack +1 and Master Blast. You can only have one or the other. And if you just have insane Rush Blast damage, you just can't have Master Blast at all. You have to use Rush Blast 3. For the most part, there weren't any real changes to the list of those who were banned or not. The main thing is that Deborah can't have both attack +2 and Master Blast. And I think, with basic and pretty much the full ban list of characters who cannot have it at all is pretty much unchanged. There might be a Vegeta or Fusion that was originally there that got removed, but for the most part it's the same. If you want to see the full list, you can look at our website or you can look at our Discord and the public staff chat.
Yep. Next up will be the Nerfs and Buffs, which I'll take that one. So there's a couple of Nerfs and Buffs that were changed throughout the off-season, most notably that Butter got a charge rate buff, I believe, to match Jace's. Then we have Muscle and Bujins both received a nerf. Bujins had hit that 73% threshold, which is what the old Super Saiyans team hit in the tenure of the league, and the Bujins were hitting a 75% win ratio for it in our testing that we did internally, and that caused us to move Maju from that team over to Resurrected Warriors. In regards to in regards to pickup, they had the option of Babidi or Spopovich, which we went with Spopovich. Then for Muscle, they had the transformations all to a baseline of 3 blast dots to pull that off instead of the 2 that some of them had. So this made it more balanced across the board for that team as well. And then lastly, we had the fusions, which will be disabled for the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. We felt that he was too strong, too powerful, at least at this point in time. So we have disabled the fusion possibility for those characters.
Yeah, which actually helps them in certain ways because now they don't have to worry about a Broly's ring slot if they don't want it, because we would have to force that on them, and so Goku potentially could never transform, so it does open some doors for them.
Yeah.
Freeze up Putai.
Yeah, it frees up the Patar for them. And then with Birder, there were some other minor changes he got. Like I think we buffed him to base defense as well.
Oh yes.
And there's a few other changes we made too. So
Yeah. Once again, these will all be in the Discord or on the website. So.
Mm-hmm.
Then next up we have the master list changes.
Yeah.
So some masters have changed it. Go ahead, Jamie.
We had quite a few suggestions, I'll just say, on master list stuff. And we decided to run through a whole bunch of them. A lot of them were denied, just because we as a staff ruled that it did not fit the theme. However, just a few significant changes that we had were derp. We kind of closed the book on derp in a lot of ways, and the last one we let in was 100% Final Form Frieza. And with that, we do not see any more changes. We also kind of changed GT's theme to be more of people who made significant contributions instead of just fights. This added Pilaf, Majin Buu, Late Piccolo, 17, Jiro, and Kibito Kai, whereas before it was just significant fights. And then finally, the biggest one I think is we changed Sentai's Master List ruling to, instead of being more of the dance, we changed it to characters that are inherently, inspired by the Sentai series. And if you don't know what the Sentai series is, it's just Power Rangers in Japan.
Pretty much.
Japanese Power Rangers.
Yeah, and I should say also, you might see different characters on different teams. We opened up trading. I totally forgot about that, but we had a couple trades and loans this season, so you might see characters on different teams and wonder what the heck is going on.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, there were a ton of loans and trades that ended up going through. Just as a very quick list, we had Royals and Cold swapped Metacooler, Mecha Frieza. GT swapped Baby Vegeta for Pilaf and 8 Zenny as a loan. And if you don't know what we mean by trades and loans are temporary for one season. You can trade characters with Zenny, or with, like you can trade like Babidi for, if you have Baby Vegeta for Pilaf. GT and who was Pilaf on?
Royals.
Yeah, like you can swap Baby Vegeta and Pilaf, and then Royals can pay 8 Zenny to make the deal a little bit sweeter. And then at the end of the season, the deal will revert and they'll go back to their teams. But a trade is just character for character, and it's a permanent trade. Budokai and Resurrected Warriors swapped 18 and early Goku in a loan deal. Budokai also loaned End Goku to Earth Defenders for Yamcha and 5 Zenny. 3 Zenny, excuse me.
Yes.
So, that will make some of these teams look very different from what you saw on them last season. And this is before we open back up the free agent mechanic that we had from in prior years. As a reminder, last year we kind of froze that in order to let teams focus on their core roster as we got used to all the new teams.
Yes. And then lastly, for these little set of recaps for the season changes, we have Zenny that changed slightly.
Yeah. We changed that calculation to incorporate the fact that in years prior, Zenny could be used for the boost store and for free agent, but during the season you could use your free agent all the way up through the bowl if you so desired, which sometimes had those free agents have been extremely influential in the postseason, and yet that didn't really reflect in your Zenny total going into the next season. And so we made some changes to how each team's Zenny was calculated, and that resulted in a much wider range of Zenny available. I think it went from 15 Zenny at the bottom all the way up to 36 before loans and any other adjustments were accounted for. But yeah, and hopefully that will encourage teams to be a little more how shall we say,
loose with their cash.
Yes.
Yeah.
During the main season, or and we also saw it during what we'll talk about in a second with free agents, but we also saw we saw lots of high bid for free agents this time around.
So yeah, going straight into that, with the change in Zenny actually impacted free agent bidding quite a lot, I feel, this season. At least it felt that way when doing it. And there's been quite a few changes for the FAs in terms of rules and new characters being added to the pool. So, Malachi, I think you want to talk about that one?
I can. The big change is kind of had to do with Zenny, just giving us more. We were, because of the wider range of Zenny, we were a little stricter in how we priced the free agents. The other big, there were some of the top tier free agents. Your teams in North Kai very likely wouldn't even be able to meet the minimum bid, for example, which is something that is very different from past years, where North Kai could, like for PyCon, who's generally been one of your S tier free agents in the past, like a team like Androids or Boojins could theoretically get them because they have enough Zenny for the minimum bid, but other teams would just have more.
Yes.
Whereas this season, like PyCon, I think we priced at 25 or 27 Zenny, and Android's total starting Zenny was 21. And so we did that to encourage the weaker, basically to try and keep free agents as a balancing tool to help the weaker teams. We don't really want to see these S tier free agents on North Kai teams just to make them even more dominant, because like the West Kai or South Kai teams said, you know what, we really can't make that S tier free agent work on our team, so we're just not going to worry about it.
Yeah, as I was saying, if Androids got Vegito and let's say Budokai got PyCon, like that would be wild, that'd be insane. So
that would be called a 2-man bowl team.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think Jay, you were gonna go read over who got which free agent.
Yeah, and the last thing to add about the free agent system is we started allowing certain lower forms into the pool, because the first one that I was going to read off is Cinema now has second form Frieza. And I believe this character cannot transform up, right? We will restrict them to a Broly's ring.
That's correct.
Okay. And Frieza is one of those characters that can't revert. So we could have never seen this character because they picked 100% form Frieza, Cold did. So we decided, well, this is still a decent character, and we're just kind of, our FA pool isn't necessarily the most exciting when you have like 8 general blue level characters. So we decided to try and spice things up a little bit. Some other big names that got drafted, Resurrected Warriors got Tapion, Vegito went to Derp, and PyCon went to, who was it again? Oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking. GT, thank you. Right, because GT traded away Baby Vegeta, so they had an increase in Zenny. Very, very interesting stuff going on. I think that was kind of all of the big names.
Adult Gohan as well. But
of course, Adult Gohan going to Sentai, which is a new thing because previously Saiyaman and Adult Gohan couldn't be on the same team. but we were able to implement a mod that allows them to be selected on the same team. So now they have a great FA, and they don't have to drop Saiyaman.
Yeah, so I'll be pleased with that. I'd hope so.
I sure hope so, because that is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's very a curveball for that team.
Oh, I totally forgot. Cold got Broly, but base form.
Base form Broly.
Because Muscle picked Super Saiyan Broly, so now we could have a Broly versus Broly matchup.
That's kind of exciting. So yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not Super Broly yet.
Yes. So it's fine. It's fine. It's still a Broly. Still do very well. So let's go into one of our final segments here. We have music, and we're having some changes to the music. I believe Malachi has been working with people on this.
Yes. So in past seasons, we had allowed teams to bid on music. This season, we did not, in part because of the changes to free agents. We did not necessarily want them to, we didn't want people to feel constrained for the music because of the music. The other part is we're still curating it. We should be, by the time this goes up, we should be done. But we do have a curated set of licensed music that we've already started using for the Tournament of Power. There's going to be that list of music along with a few others. And as I said, by the time it comes up, this gets posted, that should be available to the active supporters to start selecting on a first come, first served basis. There's a lot of music. Even if your song that you really like doesn't get picked by your team, I guarantee you there's going to be another one that you and your team will love to have.
So that covers all the off-season topics, at least that we've changed for this new season. Do you want to get into some of the fan questions, community questions?
Sure.
Let's do it. Alright, so from Tony D. Gunner says, there used to be a lot of discussion about balancing and creating a more variety in our Potara pool. Is there any plans to continue this idea into this coming season or into the season after? It would require a lot of testing. This question mostly applies to yellow Potaras, as blue Potaras are pretty standard. If you do plan to explore this type of change, what avenue of change do you guys believe would be the most realistic? Says in particular, there are 3 ways that were discussed with me in the past. You can change Potara costs, change their effects, or create new ones altogether. The first option would be the easiest, and the last one isn't something I expect to be very possible.
Yeah, so I'll kind of give an answer to that. So the short answer is you cannot create completely new effects in the game. If to give an example, like let's say there is you want to create a Potara that gives it basically cuts your key cost for B2s into a quarter. So like if it normally costs 4 B2 bars, it now costs 1 bar. You can't really do that in the game because there's not already an effect to you couldn't stack like 2 halos together to get the same effect as far as, at least for that one, not that one. But what you can do is you can combine different effects in the game together. So like instead of Halo taking away a bar of health, you could make it give you a super -1 or super -2 because those effects already exist. Changing Potara costs, we can do that a number of ways, either through actually modding the cost or just by saying, for League purposes, this just costs, Dragon Spirit now just costs 1 point or something like that.
Yeah.
For that one, we already saw some of those types of changes in Tournament of Power.
Yes.
And I think it worked out well. It will be full disclosure, I'm already testing some things that we are looking into. Not gonna say what those effects are, what I'm testing or that it would even be available by next season, because as even this question notes, is gonna require a lot of testing.
Yes.
And it is something that it will probably come in due time. We're working on it, but we're not going to rush to do it if it's something that would break the league. We'd rather do that testing first and try to make sure that if we introduce a new 4-point Patara, if it's a good effect, we're going to make sure it's worth 4 points, and there's really not an easy way to just gimp it and make, a certain team unbeatable because they just have a character that can use it really, really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I'll be honest, I hope that for next season, or for next year, like 2022, either in the Tournament of Power or whatever, there might be something. That's my hope, but I'm not going to promise that.
Sure. It'll be a ways off right now.
Yeah.
At this point, yeah. All right, so next up we have from Snuffy Sam. It says, now that the off-season is wrapping up, which teams do you think will have the best records in 2021? For me, personally, I'm looking at Cinema and Royals as two of my front runners. I think they have a very, very solid lineups, both of them. I can definitely see them making it to the bowl. So those are my two to keep an eye out on. J-Man, who do you have?
Yeah, I was definitely going to say Royals just because of the trade that they got, and now their lineup is stacked.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even need an FA because they were just, they didn't have enough Zenny to even buy a good
Baby
FA.
is the FA. Yeah, Baby is the FA, basically.
But I mean, God, Baby, Vegeta, and Majin Vegeta, and the rest of their lineup, it's scary. So
it's good. It's a good lineup.
Other than them, though, I'm interested to see what Budokai does because they did pretty well last season and they made some big changes. So if nothing else, I'm just interested to see how those changes affect the team.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I gotta echo the Cinema and Royals lookout. Cinema's pickup of Janemba is just gonna be, it seems like they've got Janemba a little more consistent than they did last season, which was why they didn't pick up. It was why they picked up Zengaya. It's like, yeah, we can get Janemba to do great, but Janemba literally will go from doing 60k to 6k, and so if they've got Janemba working, even at a average 40k level now, that's just a big win for them. And then
for sure.
Royals are the same, but I'll also say there's definitely a lot of top tier teams, and with the changes that have been made, any team can honestly take it. There's no telling what'll happen in the season.
Yeah, so even some of the teams who somewhat struggled last season, right, with GT who struggled early, or Dup who struggled pretty much, and they have a bolster in the sense of Python and Vegeta respectively, right? So they have some powerhouses now alongside the champ, right? Because the champ is unmatched. But so they'll be a dangerous team. I think they can definitely find their ways to making playoffs as well. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of, from the coach of Dup here, Viola, says, which teams do you think are going to struggle the most to get the wins this season?
Yeah, that's a really hard question.
I think it's a lot more balanced in this year than it was in previous, right? You don't have the characters like Jiro, who kind of held teams back, right? Whether it be on Dup or Androids, respectively. So I think with the changes of having Huiyin or Dorian for Dup, that will really help bolster themselves as well. Sentai has some great pickups to make Ginyu and Butter buffs. Those are helping them out significantly. GT, they have the Omega Shenron possibly now, so that could pick up some wins for them. So teams that struggled in the past, I think, could really showcase themselves now. So I don't think there'll be a lot of teams that struggle to find it in the same capacity as we saw previously.
I mean, somebody's got to lose, unfortunately.
Someone has to lose, which is really sad, but it's hard to tell who's going
Yeah.
to, right?
Yeah, I mean, even Resurrected Warriors, who had one of the weaker, what do you call it, records,
Yeah.
they now have Majub, they now have, who else was it? Like Early Goku, was it?
Early Goku.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Early Goku and Vegeta, who they had something interesting on. He's going down to base, which is something that we don't see often.
Yeah.
But like even teams with the in quotes weaker records, they have gotten new tools. The one that I would say maybe I could think struggling slightly is still Sentai, only just because you look at however many 11 seasons of history. They did get a lot of new tools, and I definitely believe in them. But if there was one to base purely on their track record, I think that would be the team to struggle.
Yeah.
That's fair. Good point.
Like, I still have concerns for Derp and Sentai just because of their history. But I mean, honestly, Derp is looking to be in a great place with Vegito. They got rid of Giro. And I think that alone is a huge buff for them.
That change will probably do them 5 wins minimum. Just there.
Yeah. Like, in all honesty, like, they did have looking good for a few weeks. But I mean, speaking as someone who is also a member of the Eternally Hate Giro Club,
Yes.
You can always get them looking good for a match here and there. And so I think they will definitely be better this season. And just to echo, like, Sentai, like, they could potentially be scary with adult Gohan.
Yeah.
Like, even if just taking out, like, Ginyu or, you know, Jace was kind of iffy last season. Like, he was looking better, but, like, take out Ginyu, put in adult Gohan, or even Saiyaman. Like, you take out their 2 weaker characters, put in adult Gohan, and then you combine that with the fact that Birder is looking good, or has been looking very least better in testing, and like Sentai could be doing a lot better, but I just worry for them just based off of past history as well.
I think that any given team can win on any given week in this season. I think a lot of the power has been balanced. I guess we'll just have to see the preseason though, because this is all based purely on tests and speculation.
Yeah, I think preseason will tell us a lot of how the teams may stack up. And even so, note that may not be true. To Cinema went 0-4 last season in preseason and found a way to playoffs, right? So that could be misconstrued.
Oh yeah, like the testing can only get you so far. The preseason will be a little more accurate, or at the very least, the preseason will let you shake down and see, okay, who still needs actual work, and can I try this thing on them? Like, you just to give an example, I think it was in the preseason that I started Cell on Eternal Life way back in season 9, and that's where Eternal Life has been done. Even though, like, at first it kind of looked a little iffy. And I mean,
now it's a staple. It's a cell build, right? So
yeah, and it's you never know what's gonna happen. It as I said, like they're especially this season, like I feel like things are a lot more balanced, and that is my hope. Is we will see by the end of the main season no team with less than 5 wins.
Yeah.
Like, if we have done that, I feel like we will have pretty much hit a sweet spot where, you know, everyone's within that standard deviation of, you know, being at the halfway mark.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So I think that's all the questions for today that we gotten from the community. Is there any last second things you want to talk about? Obviously, we'll shout out the Discord one more time and the new Twitter or newish Twitter at us now. Links will be in the description below, of course. And for me, I just hope everyone enjoys the new season. It'll be really exciting to see how the changes stack up in comparison to past seasons, past iterations.
I should add, I don't know who is watching this without seeing the streams, but if you didn't know, we do have a new commentator in Dorgard. Unfortunately, we lost one of our commentators, Zem. No, when I say lost, that sounds kind of serious. He just decided not to come back for the season. So we have gotten Dorgard to help us kind of carry the weight off of us three. So you will be seeing him, hopefully, I think in the preseason. I think we have him scheduled. We'll see.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Probably one of the weeks you have him scheduled, right? So
Yeah.
you'll hear his voice fairly soon. So yeah, I'm excited to see how he does and meshes with the other commentators. So that'll be fun to see.
Yeah, and I just echo all that. Looking forward to a great season. Things are, we've gotten a season under our feet. I think we're finding our voice, and we're looking forward to another year of DBZ League with everybody here.
With that, I guess we'll close off. I've been your host, Donut.
I've been Jay.
And I've been Malachi.
Hope you have a good one. Bye.
Later.